my gosh, this is the first mashup I have ever done with Brian Schooley with his podcast, That Loan Signing Dude. And on the road, we meet together for an epic talk about notary signing agents. What's going on, man?
What's going on, brother? How are you?
So good. So some of you guys might remember Brian from an on the road that I did. Shoot, man, was that 2 years ago? Maybe 3 years ago?
Yeah, it was probably 2020, I think. Yeah.
Yes, and he was a part-time signing agent doing $8,000 a month. Single father of 4 at the time. So much has changed in the past couple years. We're going to talk about this, but this is actually not an on the road. He was kind enough to allow me to record this podcast so I can put it on YouTube or all of my channels. So this is a Brian Schooley, That Loan Signing Dude. Listen to his podcast, little plug. But you're going to control the whole conversation, man. I'm just glad to be on it today, and I'll let you take over.
Awesome. Hey guys, what's going down? This is Brian Schooley from That Loan Signing Dude podcast. And I am about as excited as I can be. Mark Wills from the loan signing system. If you guys don't know him, I don't know how you don't, but if you don't, you should definitely check it out. He's the guy who actually got me started into the notary world. I had no idea. I guess I knew what a notary was, but I just didn't know anything about it. I had never heard of loan signings. I guess I had bought one house in the past, but I almost didn't even realize that the person who came out was a notary. You know what I mean? It was so long ago. They just came in and out, and I never thought about it. And if you would have asked me about being a notary, I would have just had nothing to say, but yeah, thanks for joining me today, Mark. I consider you my mentor. I consider you a friend, and I support you and everything you do. And man, you have changed my life.
Hey, thank you for having me, man. Everything you say, I feel the same. I feel like we've created a friendship over the past 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
I feel like I've seen your girls grow up. And glad to be on your show. This is the first podcast I've done. So I'm excited to see how this goes. And maybe I'll be on other podcasts but within the industry, but excited to hear, man. I'm always down to support any loan signing system students. So if this supports you, I'm all in, man. So let me know. So yeah, I'm excited to be here, bro.
Thank you. Yeah, I've told the story on previous episodes, but you know how me and Mark met was I was driving around and I was listening to a podcast. It's one of the reasons why I have a podcast now, because I heard it on a podcast, and from that podcast, it changed my life. One day I was listening to Nick Loper's Side Hustle Show. It's a podcast about learning how to make money on the side, and I heard you on there, and I was like, there's something weird that happened because I believed you, and I don't know that's ever happened ever. Sometimes I hear stuff and I'm very skeptical. I don't know about that, or that doesn't seem possible. But for some reason, I believed you, and you were saying you could make like between $75 to $150 an hour. And I was like, oh, that is what I need in my life right now.
Yeah, no, I know. I've always told people, like I did on Nick Loper's Side Hustle Nation, this is the best kept secret in real estate, man. Yeah. Everybody wants to be a lender. Everybody wants to be a realtor. Everybody wants to be an escrow officer. Everybody wants to be a title officer. Can I keep going? These little notaries are watching people sign their name up for $100 for about an hour appointment. And I'm like, I felt like it was my calling to let everybody know about this amazing little niche industry. And dude, I'm glad you heard of me and found me and taken a chance. Let me say something to you real quick. Yeah. And I want to say thank you to you. There's a subset of loan signing system students who were there from the beginning and who believed in this random dude that started throwing up YouTube videos, this random guy in San Diego. And so from the bottom of my heart, man, thank you for taking a chance on me. Thank you for trusting me, because all of you early students, and I think some of you out there listening know who you are, took a chance on me. And so without you early LSS students, I would not be where I am today. Loan signing system would not be without, the testimonials of success like you, Brian, and sharing your success with others. Really built what we have as a community. So thank you, man.
Yeah, you're welcome, man. You're welcome. I told you this the other day on Instagram, man, I forget what you said, but you posted something and I'm like, dude, I got a funny story. Oh, about marketing. I joined the Inland Empire Real Estate Association. And so I joined it one day and I was like, I'm going to start marketing to these people, because I've usually marketed to escrow officers, 99%, and then maybe some loan officers. But I was like, I got to reach out to more different types of people. So I joined the local real estate association, and they had a night, like an event, like a mixer. And I'm like, sweet, I'm going. And so I was like, I'm going to do my thing. I'm kind of good at this. I like doing stuff like this. And I was waiting to talk to this loan officer because I was stepping out, and she was talking to a real estate agent. I just posted up next to him and joined the conversation. And I'm like thinking about all the things I'm going to say to her, and they were in this deep conversation. Then the real estate agent turns to me, he starts talking to me. So now I'm still not talking to this lady I want to talk to. And out of the corner of my eye, I see this lady walking through the crowd, and she's handing out little cards, and she walks right up to this loan officer, and she's like, hi, I feel really bad right now. I don't remember her name, but she's like, hi, I'm so-and-so, I'm a notary. And I was like, no, like, she swept in like when I didn't have a moment, and she like gave this pitch, and it was like great. And I was kind of like, man, her pitch is pretty good. She sounds great. And so afterwards, I had just got cut off. So the loan officer turns to me. She's like, oh, and who are you? And I'm like, I'm a notary. I was gonna just forget it, but then I started talking to this notary, and she said, she's a loan signing system student. She said she was one of your first. And I was just like, oh man, like I got beat by my own system,
Oh, I love it. I love it.
It was cool. It was so funny because like she was doing the same thing I was doing, and she like beat me to the punch. But the fact that she was a loan signing system student, I was like, what do I expect, man?
Being a mentor and teacher, what I hear is there's truly business for everybody. Like, I think sometimes people would have taken that moment and feel defeated. Versus, look, there is 25 realtors in here. You take half, I take half, and we're both crushing it. You know what I mean? And so I think a lot of signing agents are like, oh my gosh, someone else in the room. And it's just like, look, dude, not everyone can service everyone. That's why I don't believe in a saturation market. There's no such thing. There is a piece of pie for everybody willing to go get it. I always tell you students that this business is not easy, but it is simple. There's a difference. I never said it's easy, but it's a very simple business. The simple business is you just got to tell people you're open for business. You know what I mean? And honestly, B, you do that as well as anyone in the loan signing system family. And I always tell you students, I'm just the coach. It's the players who make the plays, and it's your effort. It's you going to those networking events. It's you seeing another notary and realizing that there's business for both of us. Like, cool that you're here. So, I hope everyone who listens to your podcast is inspired by you, because you put in mass effort, dude. I remember on my show on the road, you would tell me how you would go to work full time, 8 to noon, and then from 12 to 1, you'd market during your lunch. Instead of like, going and eating in the break room, you're marketing. You'd get back to work 1 to 5, and then you go hit a networking event. Yeah. And I hope people are inspired by that, man, because I think people see you and they're like, oh, he just got lucky. Oh, he just makes X amount of money because it's luck. And it's like, no, you were going to escrow companies in the middle of your workday. Yeah. And then hitting an escrow association meeting after your workday, being a single dad, father of 4 girls. Like, you made it happen. It wasn't like on accident. And so I hope everybody listening to your podcast realizes how amazing you are, bro, because it's not lost on me. You know what I mean? And I hope thank you. Your audience. You're welcome.
Thank you. Yeah. The other day I had this crazy thought, and I wanted to share it with people because it all seems very unreal when you're starting. But I was thinking, what I think the notary commission in California costs like $40. Is that right? Like
it's a little bit up since then, but more or less.
Okay. All right. We'll say less than 100. Do you remember how much the loan signing system was when I took it? It was
$197, I think.
Okay. Yeah.
I think it was $197.
Yeah. What was so crazy? I just had this like revelation that I was like, dude, I took something that cost me $50 plus another $200, and I turned it into $250,000. And I don't say that because I'm not a bragging person, but I do say it because I want people to know that there is actually something there. I always say this to my wife. There's like 1,000 steps in the right direction that you got to take. You got to take a tiny one. But I've been able to take $200 and turn it into $250,000. And I only say that so that people know that it actually is a reality, because I hear so many people, they get like so discouraged. And I just want people to know it's out there. It's possible. It is through hard work. It doesn't just come. But like you were saying, for me now, what I find myself doing is getting up, trying to every day. If I don't have a signing from 8 to 10, like if there's an opening, like in the day, I spend that time marketing. I market on the way to a signing. I market on the way back from a signing. And you do have to treat it like it's a full-time job. But there are amazing benefits too, though. I get to usually always make it to our kids' baseball games or taking my daughter to do their driving test or whatever it is. So there is like a lot of freedom too. But yeah, the only way to get there is like legitimate hard work.
One of my favorite sayings, and I forget who I learned this from, is there's an idea that money is scarce. There's money out there for all of us. You just got to be willing to go get it, right? There's a mentality of money's hard to get. I actually think money's easy to obtain if you're willing to put in the work to go get it. Money is flowing, and what you get in this flow of money really determines to your outlook, your work ethic, your ability to provide value and a service. Money doesn't flow to you just because you have a skill set. Money flows to you because you create value, you give value, you provide a service. And I think what people should be inspired by you is, what you just said. It's like I market in the middle of a signing, on the way to a signing, and that's why money flows to you. That's why you're able to turn $200 into $250,000. It wasn't on accident. You understood that like there are signings out there. There are signings out there for all of us. There's signings out there for whoever's willing to go get it. Like again, man, I'm so proud of the signing agent you've become. And I'll be honest with you, I'm more proud of the business owner you've become, the mindset that you've had. And people tend to make so many excuses up instead of creating reasons. You're a single dad, four daughters, and working full time, trying to build this on the side. Anyone could have been like, dude, I get it. You're raising 4 girls. I get it. Like, you don't have enough time, but you did it. And that's the mentality of someone who realizes that there's money out there. You just got to go get it, right? Money isn't scarce. There's so much money in this world. The question is, are you going to create value so you deserve it?
Yeah.
And that's what you've done.
Yeah. One of the things I was thinking about the other day, the cool part about this business and being an entrepreneur is I didn't have a signing at the moment. And I thought, well, I'll just go get one. I'll just go get one. And I was thinking, if I worked for somebody else, and let's just say I wasn't scheduled to work today, like I'm done, I'm sunk. There's nothing else I can do. But I was like, dude, I could literally get up out of this chair and we'll go down the street and go call on some accounts. And probably by the end of the day, I could drum up some business. And so that is like a mentality that just recently I was just like, this is crazy, being your own boss and owning your own business and being a notary, because you really can just like whatever effort you want to put in, you're going to get return from it. And you actually have the option. If I choose to go do it, then I can make money. And if I choose to not do it, then I can sit there and feel bad for myself.
Well, dude, I think I tell you students that everything starts with the moment of self-belief, right? Yeah. You literally just said the statement, I'm just going to go get it. That starts with you knowing you're capable of going and get it. And I think that's what's missing from a lot of signing agents is my point. Is like there is a total self-belief you have that if I wanted to go get a signing right now, I would be able to go get it. And then that resonates when you walk into the office. That resonates when you walk into a new title company. I know I deserve this. And so sometimes it's the energy you bring into the marketing that really solidifies not what you say. But it starts all at that moment where you're sitting on your couch. You're like, I'm just gonna go get a signing. And so I don't want that loss in what you said. It's like beautiful because it starts with an utmost belief in yourself. And I hope everybody like hears that from you, man, because as a coach, I just pick up on these things of like, dude, like it's not the X's and O's. It's the belief that you deserve an appointment and money. And that's why you go get it. That starts there. And then it ends with the effort.
Yeah. And, I want to say to everybody too, it's not something that I'm like constantly in that mode, but it's something that I have to work on all the time. And so people are probably like, you believe like in yourself. And I'm like, well, sometimes I do. And sometimes I don't. It is like a mindset that I have to work on to get into. And so it's almost like figuring out how to put myself in gear. So other people might struggle with that and just think, oh, whatever, he has it, but I don't always, And it is something you have to turn on, and you almost have to just go through the motions, and then the engine starts running. You're out there in the field. Yeah.
The definition of discipline to me is doing something when you don't want to do it. And so when I say when somebody is self-disciplined like you, it is, look, I'm not in the mood. I'm a little discouraged. I'm a little bit down, but I have to push myself through it. I think a lot of people think I wake up every day just gung-ho and ready to attack the world. And I don't. Sometimes I'm like, man, I don't want to do anything, but I force myself to push through those lulls like you just said. So all successful people have those battles. We just don't succumb to some of those battles. And so I think people think it just comes natural. And I have those moments too. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's actually, I had reached out to some of our listeners and asked them some questions I was like, dude, I'm going to interview Mark Wills. Like, what would you want to know? Yeah, I know. It's like, I was so stoked. I'm like, this is like the craziest thing in my life to have you on my podcast. But okay, that is a question that one of my listeners said was like, ask him how he stays so positive. And that I've thought the same thing, because I'm like, bro, you seem like you're like a diesel engine, just like firing on all cylinders all the time. So is there anything like, what do you do to stay positive?
No, it's a good question, man. I think you know my story. I was adopted, unadopted, orphaned in Korea, went to foster home. And so I say that because early on I learned that you can either play victim to your circumstance or you can rise above it. And
Mm.
so I put everything within perspective. When a lot of people ask me, how do you, Mark, get through the no's? When I started building this business, I had to go through a lot of no's to get to a yes. And so my
Yeah.
point is I put everything into perspective. Is like when somebody tells me no, they don't want to use me as a signing agent, I tell myself that is not painful. Painful is
Mm.
going from foster home to foster home. That's painful.
Mm.
And so
Yeah.
the way I stay positive and the way I work through no's and discouragement is I put everything in within perspective. And I think that's really important because I think it's easy to get down until you realize your down is really not that down. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
so I had a rough, childhood. I always tell people my childhood's not any rougher than yours. We all have our perspectives of what's happened to us. But I think
Yeah.
it's important not to forget where you came from because I think it makes it easier to head to where you're going. And so that's the answer, man. Like when I have a bad day, I'm like, dude, today's not that freaking bad. I've been unadopted. I've had somebody tell me they don't love me. Felt like I've been alone and
Yeah.
isolated. And so whatever
Wow.
I'm going through is not that bad in comparison. So the answer to the question is everything I do is within perspective. I don't lose perspective of my
Yeah.
struggles and where I've been. And so that's what keeps me motivated and inspired and so positive. Look, dude, today's not bad. No matter how bad today is, I'm telling you, I've had worse
Yes.
freaking
Yeah.
days. And I think people
Yeah.
forget that sometimes. They forget like they are courageous, they're strong, and they're resilient. But for some reason, we get in these moments of like down moments, and you forget I beat cancer, or I was in a bad relationship and I came out on top, or
Yeah.
I lost a
Yeah.
best friend, or I lost a parent. Whatever this is, usually isn't worse than what we've already experienced. And if you can keep that within
Mm.
perspective, I think that's how I do it. That's the answer. Everything's relative. I've had some moments that are doozies, man, and it's really tough to get a moment that's been as big of a doozy as I've experienced. So
Mm.
putting everything in perspective is the answer, dude. It's just
That, yeah. That is so good. I do the same thing. I'm like, I only had one signing today, but it was only like a seller's package. So I only got paid $150, and I'm like, oh my whole life is ruined. Yes, you know what I
right.
mean? Like you can get there, but you are so right. It's all in perspective. It's no, I'm pretty sure that I've had worse days.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
that saying of don't forget where you come from or what you've been through is really, I think, the key to pushing through life and pushing through turmoil. It's, dude, you're already a warrior. You've already
Mm.
have your battle scars. And like, you have one signing today, man. You've had worse days than not having one signing. Don't forget it. So be blessed and have gratitude for the one signing, right? Or even like days where you had zero signings. It's look, I've had worse
Yeah.
days than having zero signings. I was in a car accident 8 years ago. And like remembering those helps put things in perspective and having gratitude for every moment, bro. Like I have gratitude.
Yeah.
I have gratitude for this moment. I have gratitude for like you choosing to ask me on this podcast. And so that's how I do it, bro. It's all perspective and it's all staying
Yeah.
gratitude.
That's so cool. I heard somebody say something that's super powerful is like taking your story and like weaponizing it. And it reminds me of what you're doing. The bad now is a comparison. And so now you can live like happier or live more
Right.
fulfilled because you're taking the thing and you're kind of, sometimes comparison is bad, but I guess, yeah, what you're saying is that comparison is good. You're like, compared to that, which I overcame, this
right.
is like nothing, number one. And I am in such a good spot.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So my mentor, Craig Clemens, look him up on IG. This guy is so amazing that his handle is at Craig.
Okay. Okay.
I'm like, how did you get
Cool.
at Craig? I want like at Mark. You know what I mean?
I know, right?
Yeah. It's like
Who'd you
at
have to
Brian.
pay?
You just know you
I
are
know.
the man when you get at Craig. Anyway, so Craig Clemens is my mentor and also friend. And he has a saying, to your point, Brian, his saying is your story is your superpower. And he goes, whatever you've been through is what makes you great. And we just don't give our credit enough on what we've been through, is what he always says. And so I share my story openly. You know, I've been through foster home, I've been adopted, and a lot of people would run from that, but that is my superpower. My superpower is my story, and allowing to share with everyone else is what makes me, I think, part of me great. And I don't run from that. And so I've just learned to live within perspective. I've learned to just be like, man, as bad as today is, I've been through worse, and not forgetting it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I remember you did like a short video, I think, of like your foster story. And I think I remember the last time I was at the conference, you talked about it and I was like, oh, I didn't know that. And it humanizes people to go, oh, wow, like we're the same. Like we're not exactly the same. We haven't had the same exact struggle, but we all have these struggles where we're like, which can devastate us, or they can, cause you to rise up. And so it was really cool when you shared your story. I was like, oh, I didn't know. I guess I've never asked. I mean, it's really cool, man. I love when people get real. I think that's one of the biggest problems, like with the confusing message sometimes of like social media or like watching other people's story of success is like, but they don't even have a story. Their life is perfect or something like that. Yeah.
I think the irony is we all have stories, and I just don't think we give credit to it. Like, I don't ever think like I've been through a worse situation than you. We all have what we've been through, and then we all have accounts from that journey. And some people take a divorce super bad, and I get it, right? It could be devastating to some people. Yeah. And so my point is, because you went from a divorced family doesn't mean, just because I went to the foster home doesn't make my story worse than yours at all. We all have a story, and we all survived it. And I think we have to give ourselves credit for that. Yeah. And if you learn to really give yourself credit for how strong you are, I think everything else is easy, dude. Like, hearing no that you're not going to use me as a signing agent, like, come on, man. I've heard way bigger rejection than the word no, I'm not going to use you as a signing agent. And so I put it in perspective. Like, when I walk into a networking event and someone's like, I'm good, like, I already have a signing service, which happens to me. Yeah. I don't feel dejected. I'm like, I've had worse rejection than you telling me, no, you're not going to use my business. And so I keep that within perspective. And so I think if people learn to do that, I think life becomes easier. And I actually think building your business becomes easier, because you're not afraid of the word no. You're not afraid of the word of, you know what, not right now. It's, dude, I've experienced this. Hearing a no is like not a big deal. You know what I'm saying? And so,
that's right. Yeah, definitely more devastating words have been said or things have been done in our lives than some escrow officer that we don't even know saying like, I'm not interested in.
Exactly. And it's putting that in perspective that makes that moment easier. That I want people to learn is put that moment in perspective. And the word no is like, next topic. You know what I mean? Next escrow officer, like, just keep moving. I'm cool with that. Because someone says, I want to take this other signing agent trainer. I don't feel like that's a slight on me. It's just, I can't be all things to all people. That's okay. And I'm just going to keep going on my journey. And I think if people understand that, I think business and life and relationships just become that much easier to go through.
So I was also asking some of my listeners some questions, and like there was a theme that was going on. And it's one of the things I've wondered too, is a little bit about your story, but like more in work and how you became a notary and all that. What was your first job?
I've been a signing agent for 18 years.
Dang.
Going on 19. I'm trying to figure that out right now. 19. Yes, I've been a signing agent. I'm 44 years old, for some people wondering.
Hey, me too. All right.
Yeah. 25 years old. Look, here's the story. Is right out of college, I just couldn't really find a job. Mm-hmm. I graduated. I was on the 6-year program. I went to San Diego State. Go Aztecs. Woo, woo. And so right after college, man, I just couldn't figure out what to do. And I was going from job to job. And then a buddy of mine was in the mortgage industry. And he's just like, look, dude, these notaries are making money signing loan docs. And I wish I had a better story for you. And so I was like, okay, tell me more. Yeah. And so I got my notary commission. I mean, I had jobs from like Chase. I had jobs with serving tables. So I had a job with Chase. So I kind of knew that. So my point, it wasn't so in right field. It wasn't like I believed him blindly. And so I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I've heard about it. I do it. I'm in banking right now, post-college. So I get it. And so where I was really blessed, by the way, is I got into the business during the subprime boom. I don't know if you remember that. And maybe some of your audience isn't old enough to remember that they used to give loans out to people who have heartbeats and a 720 credit score. No work history was required, no income verification, no asset verification.
Oh my gosh.
So I always believe that every good business story is mixed with a little bit of luck. So like some people who got into the business during the COVID boom, a little bit of luck there, right? And with that being said, man, I got into it right during the subprime boom. And my buddy told me about it and got connected with an escrow officer. Her name is Nina Pellegrina. If you're watching this, Nina, you were the first EO who trusted me. And then I started just signing up for signings. Yeah, she worked for a Southland title in La Mesa, California, suburb of San Diego. And so then I was going in and out of jobs. And then I started, so whenever you can't find a job, usually you go back to school. Right. I'm like, well, if I'm in school, no one can blame me for being broke. And so I started studying for the GMAT, which is for your MBA. And I didn't really know what I wanted. So I was like, if I can't find a job, I'm broke. I'm going to take out more student loans and just live 2 more years of going to school. And so I started doing that. And then I got in the subprime boom. And then it just started, I was doing 1 signing a week. And then 2 signings a week. I started signing up for signing services. There was this company called Notary near you, who's still in business, by the way, who has
Nice.
been sold from the lady who first owned it. She started giving me business. A Notary near you did. And then I just started learning the hard way. I went from 1 signing a week, 2 signings a week, 5 signings a week, 2 signings a day. I didn't start making 6 figures for probably the first 2-3 years. It took me about a year to really get my feet wet on how to market, how to talk to signing service owners, how to go to networking events, how to go to real estate events. And it was just trial and error, man. I was single, 25, 26, just trying my best to figure out what pitches were working. How do I add value? This is going to sound a little cheesy, but this is the truth. Is because of my childhood and background, I've always lived a life full of gratitude. I've just always been over the top appreciative. Like when I got adopted and I was going foster and foster, I'm like, I was so thankful that family adopted, the Wills adopted me. And so I've always just felt a gratitude for people that have helped me on this journey. And so the point I'm saying is, like, when I started getting my first a couple appointments, it was just full of gratitude. Like, it wasn't marketing. It was like, dude, can I take you out to freaking lunch? I made $175 for watching someone sign their name in an hour. Honestly, this Saturday, I'm taking you out to lunch. And it was no ulterior motives. You just trusted a 25-year-old to close your loan for $350,000. Like, this is insane. And so I realized early on in my career that other notaries just weren't thankful. They almost took the people for granted. And I inherently never took anybody for granted. I hope you students feel that. I don't take any of you. I don't care how many students I get, man. Every student, I'm blown away that they've trusted me, choosing me to be your mentor, especially now when there's a million mentors out there. And so my point is, I really built my business off of gratitude. And it was something that I literally just innately I had. It wasn't a light switch that turned on. It was just, because of where I've come from, I'm just so thankful of somebody helping me on my journey that like I started getting signings and my first realtor used me. I'm like, dude, let me buy the cheese and crackers for your next open house. And it wasn't because I was trying to get more business. I didn't know what else I could do to just say, thank you, bro. Or, you know what I mean? And so in the early days, I learned that just being full of gratitude really set me above and beyond the other notaries. There'd be notaries who just walk in, grab 4 sets of loan docs and walk right out.
Right.
I'm like, they're not even sitting down and talking to you and getting to know you as a person. I'm just like, I'm blown away. I just made $500 yesterday, man. The least I can do is sit in here and get to know you and your family and your children. And I realized early on, man, that attitude of gratitude really was a separator. And it's something that came honestly very innate because of my not having much growing up. And that's what I teach you guys. You know what I mean? It's like, just be full of gratitude. And then I started getting people recommending me, referring me, because they do, this notary is just so freaking nice. He's just so freaking thankful. And he's like, I give him a signing and people would be like, I'd have emails like, give this guy a signing and it's going to make you feel like you just paid his mortgage. And
I love what you're saying, man. And it's actually, it's cool because it is like your superpower. It is just who you are and how you've harnessed who you are into a superpower. There's certain things that people possess, and the best way to market, if you want to say that, is to use that thing. Yours is gratitude, obviously, or somebody else's, I don't know. It might just be like they're good at making friends, so that they're like a friend to these people, and you use that as your superpower. But yeah, so it's really cool what you're saying. I think that sometimes people, they have to realize that gratitude can't just be a marketing skill. It has to be from the heart.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
And to your point, what you just said also is everybody has their love language. You got to tap into what your love language is. My love language is just showing gratitude and being almost over the top about it. Cause like until you know what it's like to go to foster home, anyone who take me in, I'm like, just thank you for feeding me. Thank you for buying me shoes. And so the gratitude I've had is just be you and stick with it. And to your point, it has to be authentic. Some people see me on the internet and they just think I'm all show, and cool. If that's how you feel, like, we're not meant to connect, bro. You know what I mean? And I don't get mad at people who like are not very nice to me on the internet. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you're just about this, or you're just a salesman. This is who I am, and it connected with you. And
Totally. That was the thing. It's still such a funny part of my story when I met you, or through that podcast, because I was just like, dude, I'm skeptical. Like, I don't believe anything like this, you know what I mean? But
Right.
I did believe you. So I always think that's so funny. But yeah, and
I'm going
how,
to jump in since we're doing story time. I want to jump in real quick. I know you got some
all
notes
right, all right.
there, and this is your podcast. I want
Yeah,
to tell a
go.
story. Brian has inspired me to work even harder, and I've told Brian this a million times. Is Christmas Day, I think 5 years ago, he Facebook messaged me and sent me a message saying, "Mark, I want to say thank you because without you and what you've taught me, I was able to buy my family Christmas presents."
Yeah, it's
I'm
true.
almost gonna start crying. It's like your story, now I'm crying. My tears are like full of gratitude for that moment. I showed that to my wife. I was at my in-laws' house in Temecula. Like I
Yeah.
remember the moment like it was yesterday because it was that palpable to me. And I
Mhm.
remember exactly where I was on the couch, showed it to my wife. I showed my wife, I had to read it. And I said, this is why I need to go all in.
Yeah,
And so
man.
that was the moment, like, that moment I was still half in, half signing agent, half teacher,
Oh,
because I
really?
still
Okay.
doing signings, well, basically full time and teaching part time. And it was like, and I sent that text to Roman, who is the business partner of Loan Signing System. And that was the moment for me of like, I need to go all in. I got to help more people, and I got to quit giving people 50% of my time. I got to give them 100% of my time. I got to make sure that everybody has the same tools and skill sets that Brian has. And I've told you this before today's conversation. I've told you this a few times. And so I just want people to hear
Yeah.
it because I give you credit on my journey. That was the moment for me, dude, where I was like, I need to help more people. I need to go more all in. So
That is
thank you
so
for sharing that
crazy.
with me because I think it takes a special person to get that vulnerable
Mm.
with someone who's a semi-stranger at that moment. I'm an online mentor at that point.
Yeah,
So it's like for someone to get vulnerable to share that, I thought was powerful. So thank you for being vulnerable and being able to share that with me,
of
that
course.
you were so quote unquote broke that you wouldn't have had Christmas. And I think it takes someone vulnerable one to share that. So
Yeah.
because of you, that was the moment I said, I'm all in. So,
Let's do this.
uh,
Yeah. Yeah. I'll tell you the story too, from my perspective. It was literally that I realized that Christmas morning I had given, gifts to my kids and done whatever I wanted to do. Basically, I was sitting back and I was kind of reflecting and I was like, literally what I spent on Christmas was what I made through signings. And I was like, dang, without it. And so I was having a moment on my end, sitting there being like, and really gratitude. I was just like, I got to tell this guy, this is like the legitimate truth of what just happened. And it was vulnerable, but I was like you, I was just so grateful. I was like, you need to know. So yeah.
Thank you. I've told that story to numerous people, not just you. And it wasn't just a story to share on the podcast. I've literally
Yeah.
told you almost every time I see you, like, that was
Yeah.
my moment. And so there's other students who should be thanking you too, because at that moment, LSS wasn't making enough revenue to sustain us,
Mhm.
me and Roman. And so, but after that, when I decided to go all in and regardless of where the income revenue was, I just had to go all in. I had to just stop doing signings every day, start helping people every day. And like I
Wow.
said, I've told you this before, dude, I give you credit for that moment where I was pivotal for me to realize I'm making a difference.
That's
I
so
didn't,
crazy.
yeah, I'll be honest with you. I didn't realize I'd be this impactful. And that's just me being very upfront. I knew I could help people. When I got into this, I knew I could help someone get business. Like I knew if I can just teach people how I walk into an escrow office, someone could get there also. But I didn't realize that I'd help someone with their Christmas, right? I didn't realize, we had someone share yesterday in the Facebook group, they've paid off all their student debt, all their credit card debt, and for the first time they can breathe. Like I didn't realize like
Yeah.
that was the story behind the money people were making. And
Yeah.
it's been a wild journey, dude.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, I have other stories too. You're big on setting goals. And my goal for 2019 was I was still part-time then, but it was to pay off all my debt, which I did. And then also to take my girls to Hawaii because I had never been to Hawaii. And I was like, and then that to me was like, that was my goals. Everybody has different goals, but I was like, I want to do this, but like pay off all my credit cards, which I did. And then go to Hawaii, take my 3 girls to Hawaii paid for, you know what I mean? Not financing it, not
Right.
putting it on the credit card.
Yeah.
And so I was able to do that year. And it was just crazy, man. It was just so cool. But
Well, dude, I don't know if you remember, you sent me a picture from Hawaii.
probably,
And
yeah.
Yeah, you sent me a picture from Hawaii and said, "Thank you, man, because of what you taught me. This is possible." And thank you for allowing me to be on your journey with you, dude.
Yeah.
Thank you for being vulnerable, because those are the moments where I understand the long days away from my family are worth it. You know what I mean? And you've come this far, bro.
It's crazy. Yeah, it is crazy. To think going from, I always tell everybody I was like a trained dog going to work every day,
Huh?
and I was doing the same thing and I was making the same amount of money and it wasn't enough. And then over time, like I was able to break free from that. And now it's a weird thing to say, but it's like I work less than ever, if that it makes
Yeah.
any sense. All of my hours were booked with work previously. And now I'm able to have more free time, just have more free time than ever and make great money. And I'm my own boss and I get to make all the decisions, which is so cool. So yeah, man, thank you. I'm just beyond thankful.
Yeah, you're welcome, man. You're welcome. If you don't mind me asking, what are some of the ancillary things that you love about being a signing agent that's not equal to money?
It's my time. The reason why I went full time was to have more time with my kids and and my wife. So it was like the reason why I work is so that I can come home. If I'm going to go do a job, it's so that I can make some money and then so that I can come back home and then live life. It seems like people like in our society nowadays are a little like off. They're just like, it's all about work, it's all about making money, to say like I made this much amount of money, and it's a comparison thing. But and I've had this mind shift over the last couple of years, just it's about making enough money so that you can have a life.
Right.
Those are two separate things. It's not making money is life. But so for me, I was going crazy like for a while, like
Yeah.
doing as many signings as I could possibly do. And now I've toned it back down into this reality of, is it worth being gone all the time? And so for me, it's time. And you only get so many moments to spend with your kids or your family or whatever. And so that's what it's become for me. I do remember right before I really started taking like the loan signing system course, I was working a full-time job and then I was also working all day on the weekends. So I was working 7 days a week, and that's when I was dying. And that's when I was like, I gotta find something else. And one of the things that just it gets under my skin even to this day, but it was like it's such a learning lesson, was I spent this Saturday and Sunday working, and just in the way that this job worked, it was like minimum wage unless you make a sale and then you get commission. I never could sell this thing.
Right.
And so it was minimum wage, and it was my grandma's 96th birthday and I couldn't make it.
Mm.
And I was like, this has got to stop. How many more birthdays is she gonna have?
Yeah.
And that was her last birthday. And so I told the guy, I was like, I gotta go, man. I'm out of here, and he's like,
Yeah.
you can't leave. And I was like, and I actually never went back, but that's when I had enough, because it was like all of my time was spent trying to work and do this. And so anyways, I was like, there's got to be a change, because my
Mm.
family is more important. And I've got to figure out a way to do that. And
Yeah.
that's literally right when I found the loan signing system. So
Yeah, I love it. No,
crazy.
thank you for sharing that. I always love different signing agents' perspectives of what they think this business is great. I will say something though, because I try to be transparent. This business, for as amazing as it is a business. And I think you said something where you're working less now more than ever.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a time where you're working 12-hour days.
Yeah,
Sometimes you have to work 12-hour days to get to the 6-hour day.
definitely. Yeah.
And so I think every business owner has that ramp up phase where
Mm-hmm.
you just got to take every appointment. You got to drive 2 hours. You just got to work for $40. And I think
Yeah.
sometimes people see signing agents like you who are making $500 a day, working 6 hours, and they forget that
Mm-hmm.
you were working 12-hour days, traveling 2 hours one way on the regular and 5 hours a day to create those relationships you have now today. So
Yeah.
you can work 6 hours.
Yeah.
I know this is your podcast, but I want people to see the real journey. Sometimes people are like, oh, Mark, you want to talk about the good stuff? Well, the good stuff is the good stuff. At the same time, for me to build loan signing system, I had to work 18-hour days. I had to be with students on the phone at 6 a.m. and 11 p.m. But now my schedule is a little more clear, but you have to sometimes get through the 12-hour days to get to the
Mm-hmm.
6-hour days. And so I think people listening to your podcast are inspired by you, but I think that they should hear the hard work that you've put
Yeah.
in, and you deserve where you're at.
Yeah. Yeah. It definitely has been a process. And it was taking anything and everything, anywhere, at any cost, for 3 years. I remember driving home I dropped off docs early in the morning. I worked my 9 to 5 all day long. And then I worked till 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night, and going to sleep at midnight or 1 o'clock. Cause I can remember like checking documents at like
Yeah,
midnight. like, dude, did I miss this
Yeah.
an initial? Because like, if I was going to miss an initial, it would be right now. You know what I mean? Like the last signing after working 16 hours and then sleeping for 4 hours and then getting back up and delivering those docs back the next morning. It was very unglamorous. And I can remember like thinking to myself, like wanting to cry on the way home sometimes. Like, I don't even know what I'm doing. I don't know why I'm doing this. You know what I mean? But it was all for a purpose. And yeah, there's glorious parts of it now, but there was about 3 years of just of such hard work. And not that I'm not still working hard, but it is different. And you
Yeah.
do develop relationships, and then like you can create it to an extent to benefit you more, like the further you're in it, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like I used to take any jobs now, and I still almost always take anything, but I found there is a point where I'm not going to do that. And now I'm able to say no. And I'm also able to like have enough faith in the process that like, if I say no, yeah, if I say no to this job, like that's out in Woodland Hills, it's like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours to get there. If I say no, even if I don't get another signing in that time frame, it's still better. And that's just because I've established myself. But generally what I would find is like when I say no to things that are super hard, it's just the way it works, man. I usually get something else. So
Well, you literally ended it with the perfect statement. I'll usually get something else. So what's really happening is you're going from a scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset.
yeah.
Scarcity mindset is, oh, if I'm not always working, I'm not always doing this, I'm not going to get paid, I'm not going to get business. A scarcity mindset is my relationships aren't good enough, so I have to take everything. So you're really selling yourself short. Where the abundance mindset is, I've worked 3 hard years to build this relationship. It can handle a no, so I can be with my family. I've worked so hard. I've proven to this client that I will go above and beyond. And sometimes saying no for my mental health is better because I know it's going to come. So it's really trusting the relationship you built. It's trusting the hard work you put in. And so what's happening, which I love as your coach, is you're going from a scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset. And then when you realize, and when you live in the abundance mindset, all of a sudden your phone starts ringing off the hook because you're not operating out of desperation. You're operating out of gratitude, and you're operating out of abundance. And so all of a sudden you're actually busier doing less, like you just said.
Yes.
And it's really the mindset of, okay, there really is abundance out there. And like, sometimes when I was a signing agent full time, and I still own the signing service, but I don't do signings every day. Is sometimes I would turn down a signing and I'd be like, I'm stoked that I just helped another notary get business.
That's
so
true.
That was my mindset. I said, I'm going to turn this down. And I go, no, I could squeeze it in, but I'm being a little selfish. Let's share the love a little bit more. And so I actually got excitement from sharing the opportunity and just knowing that another family's getting fed, someone else is building their business. And I'm not threatened that there's a number 2 or 3 notary that's working with my escrow officer. And so I sometimes turn that into, I just helped someone today. And that felt good. That's the real abundance mindset I want all of you to get to. It's like, when you turn down an appointment, it's not turning down money. It's like, help someone else today. It's like, I just down $250. Some other notary maybe needs it more than me. Maybe they're trying to build their business, pay off their debt, take their family to Disneyland. My family's good. That turn, I think, is everything for a signing agent.
When I was first like working through that process of turning stuff down for my benefit, I would be anxious because I'd be like, oh man, I'd be like at home and tripping, whatever. And my wife would say, why don't you do something for you? And I'm, what are you talking about? She's like, go for a run, go ride your bike, play your guitar, do something for you. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And it's actually the truth. It's like when we can say no to other things, we can also do stuff for our own self, for our family or for friends or whatever it is. So it is a mind shift where you're like, I can actually take this time to benefit me or my family too. It's beautiful.
And then, like I said, I think that there's a third lane on that. And that is you're now helping someone else's family by turning it down. Someone else just made $250. And so it's really a win-win is my point. And that's really the abundance mindset. And the abundance mindset is like everybody can win. And what I love is you're very vulnerable to talk about anxiousness. And that's just scarcity mindset. The anxiousness is, I don't believe in the relationships I've created. I don't believe in the hard work I've put. So therefore, I'm scared that someone's not going to call me back instead of, look, I've put in the work for 3 years, man. And I appreciate you saying that because I think there's a lot of signing agents who can identify with that anxiousness. And that's just a scarcity mindset. It's like a lack of self-belief on what they've accomplished. And so you've accomplished a lot within the relationship building factor. And sometimes saying no, like to your wife's point, is good for you and your family. And The third carrot is, or the third feather is, you're helping another family.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now they're eating, and now maybe that 250 just made them save enough money to go to Disneyland. And so I think when you realize that everybody can win at every moment, that's when life changes.
Yeah. Yeah. What's funny, I have a story you're just reminding me. Was I was at one of my local title offices. I was doing a signing and I was sitting in their little room. The client was there and I heard this lady come in. I saw the corner of my eye. I could see the front door, and she came in and she had bagels and she started like doing this pitch, like pitching her business. And she was a notary. And I was like, oh, dang. I was like, this is so crazy. I was just watching it. And she gave the good pitch. She's a loan signing system student too. She gave the pitch and then she left. And I was like, that was a great sales pitch. Like she did good. The ladies in the office, they were all like squirrely. They're like, oh my God, we got bagels, like when she left. But I was just like, it was like funny because I got to watch it, and she technically is my competition, but she's not, you know what I'm saying? So I'm like, I'm already there doing a signing. I have this relationship with them, and she's trying to come too. But it was just fun to watch. And then she actually messaged me. She's like, hey, was that you in there? She's like, I've never seen you in person. Like, I follow you online or whatever. And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, you did great. But so it was just like this, it was just cool. And like you say, there's enough business for everybody. And to watch other people start doing their thing and thrive is really cool.
Dude, as your boy, as your mentor, like, I'm so proud of that mindset, because I think a lot of people get threatened by it. I am not threatened by other signing agent trainers. I love that there's other signing agent trainers. I will never talk bad about another signing. They're all great. I bet they bring stuff to the table that I don't, because their journey is different than mine. Like you said, your line was beautiful. They're a competition, but they're not, right? And like other trainers are a competition, but they're not. Like, there's students for all of us. There's business for all of us. That's why I never feel the need to talk down about another signing agent trainer. And it's because there's business for all of us. And when that clicks, I think your anxiousness comes down. I think life becomes easier. It's really living in the abundant mindset. And when you can live in the abundant mindset, like, stress becomes a little bit less, anxiety becomes a little bit less, because you really feel like, great, I'm glad that lady walked in, because my bestie, this escrow officer, needs a number two.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that she will make a great number two. It's not threatened that this person could take over the number one spot, right? Because you have a lot of belief in the relationship you've created. So like, when signing services come in and try to pitch themselves to my escrow officers, I'm not threatened by it. I know the relationship I've created. And look, if I can't find a notary in the middle of Tennessee, they should have a backup signing service in case that signing service can find a notary in Tennessee. Like there's business for all of us. And so I think your comment of it's just competition, but not really, is a very mature, veteran business owner, not signing agent, but business owner mentality. And there's business for all of us, man, and everything in life. It's just understanding that we're all colleagues. And like I said, I see all my other signing agent trainers as colleagues. I don't see them as competition. Some of them see me as competition, but I don't see them. I'm like, look, do your thing, man. Put out that content. Your content's epic. I'm cheering all for them on behind the scenes, because I really think there's business for everybody. There's students for everybody. I'm proud of you. That is your mindset too, because it comes out really authentically, which is cool.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So I guess let's move into what's in the future for the loan signing system, man. What do you see coming down the pike? You got anything up your sleeve? I know you do. You're constantly coming up. You have so much stuff going on. I honestly can't keep up with you. Like coaching every week in the SBO, right? Like small business stuff you're working. Oh my God, I don't even know. I'm like just inundated with emails from you, but it's so much value you're giving. But is there anything you want to share like about the future?
Yeah, I appreciate you asking that, man. You're right. Small business organization is the growth of Mark and Roman. Me and Roman literally sit back every day and we're like, dude, how can we help everybody? Because what I teach you students is, when you realize if you give value, money always comes. So don't chase the money, chase the value. So me and Roman are always chasing the value. What can we do? And so we realized about 6 months ago, me and Roman have been able to build a nice business with loan signing system. And so like I teach you guys is education's everything, never stop learning. So Roman and I are part of pretty high level masterminds. We go to these masterminds that cost thousands and thousands of dollars. If I told you the price on some of them, you'd be like, but that's how much I value education, is my point. Like, I value getting smarter. And so me and Roman came back from one, I don't know, 6 months ago, and we're just thinking to ourselves, like, how come everyone doesn't have access to this education? Like, just because you're a signing agent making $500 a month doesn't mean you shouldn't have access to high level business education. And that was how small business organization was birthed. It was like, look, let's create something that will give every business owner the same education than we do. We get access to these speakers that probably cost the organization $5,000. I don't know what it costs, right?
Right.
They're just bringing these high level, but like, I'm like, we can bring speakers like that on, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so the future of loan signing system is just helping small business owners, because that's what you are. I call all of you business owners. I don't call you signing agents, right? You're business owners who happen to be signing agents.
Yeah.
And so the future of LSS is really helping you, Brian, small business owner, with every aspect of your business. I'm really good at the X's and O's of talking to a title company or a realtor, but I'm not necessarily an expert in stress management or an expert in being a CPA or an expert in how to invest your money, bringing in some of the best financial advisors you would never have access to, that me and Roman have access to because we've built a sustainable business. I don't think it's fair. So I want to give Brian Schooley access to these high level financial advisors, these high level tax preparers, these high level, if you ever, start a signing service and you need employment advice, like some of the students with LSS are like asking me for employment advice. And I'm just like, and so we're going to bring in employment attorneys. And so to give you access to it. So that's the future of LSS, man. It's helping you with the entire process of being a business owner, not just the skill set of being a signing agent, but the skill set of saving on taxes, the doing your bookkeeping. If you want to start running paid ads for general notary work, like you want to start getting Yelp reviews, Google business reviews, like I'm not an expert in that, but that doesn't mean I can't bring in experts. And so it's time, Brian, that I start helping you with the other side of your business.
That's cool, man.
And that's small business organization, basically doing another startup. But our heart's in the right spot. And that is just to give you the tools that I've actually let you down on. I should have spent more time in taxes but I always I don't try to be the teacher I'm not an expert in. But now that's going to change, and it is changing as we speak. It's like next month after tax season, we'll be bringing in like 3 of the biggest CPAs in the country. Oh my gosh. So we're going to bring in and just give them access to you. And as long as you're a 6-figure member, it comes free. That's not an added cost. Some people are like, you can charge extra for this. I said, no.
Yeah.
I said, not at all. I mean, like people are already giving me money. They need to get more for the money they're giving me.
You're very good at that, giving value, man. I'm always like, I can't believe all the stuff you're doing. Yeah. And that is so cool too, because I know I'm just like, I'm a business owner. It's weird. You don't feel like one, or you might think something of what a business owner is like or what they should be like. And then you have this realization, like, I am one, but I don't know any of these things. So it's so cool to have that as a tool now. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the future, man. I'm excited for it. We're still going to do the yearly conference. I'm still blown up. Did you get a ticket this year?
Oh yeah. I'll be there. Yeah.
Sold out so 4 hours, man. It was like,
I know. It's funny. I run into signing agents out, in the field, and they're like, "Are you going to conference?" I'm like, "Yeah, are you going?" And they're like, "I couldn't get a ticket." You had to be fast. Yeah.
Brian was going to my conferences when they were a couple hundred people. And like I said, man, I'm full of gratitude that you and all I think all I call them OG students. I think the OG students know who they are. I'm just so full of gratitude for you early students, because without your early students, man, loan signing system would not be here. SBO wouldn't be here. It still blows my mind, dude, that people trusted me. I was like, no one knew my name 6 years ago. You know what I'm saying? And, and they're like, no one's going to take your course. The NNA's here. And now there's like a million signing agent trainers. But when I started, it was me, Notary to Pro, and Notary Coach. And so there was 3 like people outside, and we were just very niched in specialty. Yeah. And I love that now there is a burgeoning industry of signing agent trainers. Like I get juiced for other trainers. They're not my competition. Like I'm juiced. I'm excited for them. I hope they bring value to their students. As much as I would love every notary as a student, I know that's not real. My personality is not for everybody. Yeah. And so that's what kind of allows me to stay positive. Circling back to that question you asked me earlier, is kind of the way I stay positive all the time is I have realistic expectations. I don't expect to have everybody as a student. I don't expect to have every escrow company as a client. Like I think some people live in this weird land of every escrow officer should use me. And I'll get emails like, Mark, 2 EOs said no. I'm like, I've had 1,000 tell me no.
Yeah. That is something that I learned when I was in sales for all those years, was like, you're either going to click with this person or you're not. And if you don't, you're probably not going to get business from them. And I would always do this. If I gave it 4 or 5, attempts, and I'm like, this person is not giving me any attention. I'll just move on because like you said, not everybody's going to do business with you. Not everybody, like, you're not their cup of tea or whatever. You have no idea what their reasoning is, but it's just best to just move on.
And that's okay. And I think the key is, and someone who likes sales from you, and if I can be honest, that was really what kind of helped you that I can't take credit for, is some of the resilience on the sales side of this business. And you understood that everyone's not gonna be my cup of tea. Some people get that, like, I'm not their cup of tea and the world's falling apart, and they go back and they psychoanalyze themselves like, oh my God, everybody hates me, I'm not great. When it's just, dude, you're not everyone's cup of tea. And that's a realistic expectation. To think I'm gonna have everybody as a student. It's not a real expectation. So therefore I don't get down when I'm not everybody's signing agent trainer. And so I think that's the way I stay positive, is I have realistic expectations. Like, I'm not gonna be everybody's signing agent trainer. Not everyone's gonna use my signing service. And so that helps me. The reason I stay positive is because I don't get negative, I guess is what I say that. And I don't get negative or discouraged because I'm realistic. Like, some people, there's going to be haters. Okay. Like, I can't be everyone's best friend, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. It's like having friends. You have certain friends and you just really click with them, and you clicked with them right away. And that's usually the way it works. But if not every dude I run into is going to be my best buddy. And it's the same thing. It's the same thing.
That's a great way of looking at it. I never thought about it like that. People don't get upset if you go to a party and someone's not like talking to you. You're like, you're like, oh my God, he's not talking to me. She's not talking. But when they go out and get business, it's all of a sudden the end of the world that person. That's a very good point. And I'm going to steal that, by the way. It's when you go to a party, like, we don't shut down because the guy on the couch. Like, I've struck up conversations at parties and they're not in, but I don't leave that conversation thinking like something's wrong with me. But yet you go get business and all of a sudden someone's not using you, feel like something's wrong with me. And there's really, it's a great point, man. It's a great point.
We personalize the business thing for some reason, but that's so funny.
Good point.
Awesome, man. Dude, thanks so much for coming on that Loan Signing Dude podcast. Oh my gosh, this is crazy. I am actually taking a course about how to build the podcast and how to bring more value to people. And they said, make a list of the top people you would want to have on your podcast. And you were number one, man. So it was funny. I reached out to you and I was like, there would be nobody greater to be on my podcast. And I was like, might as well just go for the gold. And so thanks so much, man, for coming on. It means the world to me because you've changed my life. And you're my mentor. You're a friend. I'm just all about loan signing system. I think I talk about it in every episode. But thanks so much, man, for coming on and joining me and taking time, man. I really appreciate you.
You're welcome. You're very welcome. Thank you for being such a strong advocate for the community. I always tell people the best part about loan signing system is not me. It is the community. Our community is unbelievable. You make it unbelievable by going out here, putting content, speaking great about the community. And so just thank you for being a phenomenal member of the community, putting out great content, supporting what our community does. When another loan signing system student comes, markets to one of your clients, you don't like get mad and shoot away and talk bad. It's accepting and being warm. And so thank you for just being part of the loan signing system family, sharing the ethos, the values. I will support you in anything you do. Every single student has that same support from me.
Yeah.
So thank you, brother.
All right, brother. Yeah. Thanks so much.
Go get them. Bye.
Bye.